What would Two Point County do without the masses of tourists it attracts every year? Well, premier resort Grockle Bay would be out of business for one thing, and so would all the hospitals that specialize in exotic diseases. I guess what I'm saying is, we should thank visitors for bringing their viruses in from all over the world.
Greetings, Soulswind here, and welcome to Let's Play 2 Point Hospital. We're now at Grockle Bay. Tourists like to bring all manner of peculiar illnesses to this wonderful sunny town. I mentioned about a format change. First things first, as part of the format change, I'll be post-commentating parts of these videos. What about interesting incidents? The live commentary of these incidents will still be included in these videos. We've come to a point where each hospital becomes very repetitive, and after the introduction to a new technology or a new illness or a new game mechanic, like for example, it's warm temperature, and wait, warm temperature instead of the cold temperature. Instead of radiators, air conditioners. But the thing that triggered this format change is the waiting. We're waiting against RNG. And we're just waiting for the numbers to go up. For example, in the last hospital. For 1 star, hospital level 8, staff morale 60%, reputation 60%. And then as part of the newly introduced technology, cure 5 patients with 8 bitten. For level 2, that number increases to hospital level 12, staff morale 75%, reputation 75%, and cure 100 patients. And for 3 stars, hospital level 16, staff morale 90%, reputation 90%, cure 200 patients. That's the last hospital. Now let's start with 1 star for this hospital. Hospital value 750,000. Hospital attractiveness 60%. Cure 10 patients with cubism. Because in this hospital there was a new technology introduced to cure cubism. These numbers increased later for 2 stars. But before that, let's go on to how we start the hospital. Welcome to Grockle Bay. It's a tourist hotspot. Prepared to be inundated with germ-ridden holidaymakers who can't cope with the heat in the south, I recommend investing in some air conditioning at the earliest opportunity. Alright, so we're gonna have to reach 750,000 hospital value, attractiveness 60%, 10 patients with cubism, so immediately we'll need researchers. Research the new technology, and that is the recovery room. Get that out of the way. In this playthrough, I was kind of lucky. I got a researcher at research level 2, but if that's not available, hire someone that's currently unskilled and train that person in research. Or we can also opt to wait for a few months for a suitable research candidate to appear. If none appears after a few months, feel free to just restart the game because nothing's been done yet. Anyway, start the research, put the researcher in the research room, and then move on to build the basics, such as the GP room. Now, one point to note, in this hospital, it's warm, not cold. So, for the research room, the GP, and future rooms that we build, remember to add air conditioners. On top of that, if we have saved templates, they might be using radiators. Remember to update those. Remove the radiators and then add air conditioners. For the newly introduced illness, the patients have different sized cubes as their body. For new visitors, we have Agatha Sphere from the Old Foundation. She's known to brainwash patients and staff, causing them to lose happiness over a short period of time and possibly causing rage quits. Back to constructions. After the GP room, depending on which illness is detected, build the corresponding room. In my playthrough, I built the pharmacy and the ward. In this playthrough, I've also decided to add the staff room before the end of May of the first year. By the middle of the first year, we can start training our staff. If we had not opted the training path by building the training school to get the researcher, now's the time to build it. Of course, prioritize GP staff. The higher the diagnosis certainty, the better. Since we begun our research really early into the game, by July, we have our new technology all researched. So it's time to build the recovery room to cure the cubism illness. This room size is unique, having a minimum size of 5 by 3. In comparison, the usual room size requirements are 3 by 3 or 4 by 4. From here until the end of the year, I hired a few more staff, mainly prioritizing specialized staff where they don't have a mix of skills or unskilled staff. This approach isn't necessary at all, but I find it useful because it helps me with managing my staff and lets me easily identify what skills to train them in. Even if we do hire multi-skilled medical staff, try to have a smaller assortment of skills so that we can get things like treatment, GP, psychiatry, and other medical related skills to level 3 at least. Also, we should not forget to periodically check our staff's salary and match their required salary to keep them neutral. Do not let them stay upset with their salary. You might have noticed that I've started to ignore the characteristic traits of each of these staff. That's because it's a very painful RNG to get the right characteristics and the right skill set. And the game is designed in such a way that the skill set matters a lot more than the personalities and traits. I mean, this is a game that asks us to allow our patients to die in order for our janitors to capture ghosts. So, I wouldn't be surprised if these character traits aren't as important or even insignificant. Anyway, moving on. After a few promotions, a few hires, failing to treat, or even causing the death of some patients, we're now at the end of year 1 of Grockle Bay. Let's see how we did. So, a new year rolls in. I began year 2 by purchasing a new building. And from here on out, until the first star, train more people, hire more people, promote them, build more rooms, while also tasking our research room to produce $20,000 every research cycle. But wait, build more rooms? Yeah, all we have to do is look at what illnesses have been discovered, and if we have the funds, build the corresponding rooms to treat those illnesses. And in my playthrough, I built a resolution lab and a psychiatry clinic in February. I added a toilet in the main building. I've also begun to assign specialized roles for some of my doctors. March of the second year marked an approximate 9 months since we built the recovery room. However, we had 0 cures on cubism. That was essential to getting 1 star. So, you know I'm panicking about getting to the next star level when I begin to build the marketing room. Yeah, I had to market for these illnesses so that patients with these illnesses would come to our hospital and seek treatment in order to increase the treatment count for cubism. I did not notice that by early May, the marketing progress had been almost 0. That's because I neglected to task a specialized marketing assistant into the marketing room. Meanwhile though, an injection room and a new GP clinic were added. That was followed by 1 more training school in early June. Right at the end of July of the second year, before we even got 1 successful cubism treatment, our first epidemic. By then, we've already accomplished 750,000 hospital value, as well as 60% hospital attractiveness. Back to the epidemic, we got the joggers ripple effect. That's a bad epidemic. It is harder to identify them based on these characteristics as you can see on screen. So after wasting a lot of time trying to pick them out, I decided to just ignore the challenge and take 10 reputations as penalty. More staffs were trained, hired, promoted, more research completed. Even bought a new building. Added to it a fracture ward, and another recovery room, and shifted our first one over. Meanwhile, our first successful cubism cure did not happen until 18th of October of the second year.
End of year approaching.
This is how it looks like at the end of second year. So for the third year, again, training, add some air conditioners to provide some thermal comfort, hire, research, promotions, and let's guess which one's first, the end of third year or 1 star. If you've guessed the end of the third year, I'm afraid you're right. We spent 3 years not getting to 1 star. We only got 1 star at the beginning of the 4th year. And here is our letter for 1 star rating. Congratulations, your hospital has been awarded 1 star rating by 2 Point Health Ministry. Tourism is undoubtedly a disease of sorts, but it's also vital for the livelihood of the county. For tourism to thrive, the tourists themselves must survive. Now that this is happening, they can return home to tell their friends and their friends' money. Continue working in hospitality for more rewards, or go elsewhere and expand your organization. Cubism poster unlocked.
Yearly review imminent.
Ready for 2 stars? We need 2 million hospital value, 70% hospital attractiveness, hospital reputation 75%, and a cure rate of 75%. While the hospital attractiveness is easy to get by adding plants all over the hospital, the other metrics aren't as easy. If we're patient and do things right, we should be able to get to 2 million hospital value within a few months. In February of the 4th year, it's the first time I bought 2 new buildings at once. Some of the facilities were moved to the new buildings, and some new ones were added. And by now, I begin to believe more than ever that some of these buildings were designed to frustrate. Lots and lots of unusable space because of the room size constraints, or because I'm just not a good interior designer. Anyway, also within February of the 4th year, I began to specialize all my medical staff. Treatment staff only handling treatment, GP staff only handling GP, ward staff handling only wards, which includes the fracture ward, and therefore treatment staff do not handle fracture ward patients, so on and so forth. As we continue to progress, more and more patients are arriving at the hospital. However, there is a bottleneck. At 70% diagnosis certainty, a lot of patients become stuck in the diagnosis cycle. GP, diagnosis room, although fast-tracked, but because the diagnosis room did not provide enough percentage of diagnosis certainty, they return to GP to be assigned to a different diagnosis room, go to said diagnosis room, still cannot get the diagnosis certainty, and then return to the GP again. This is just an example, but such a cycle has a very negative impact on the income of the hospital. As mentioned, patients get stuck in this cycle and they stay for a long time before receiving treatment. By then, they could be angry, they could be on low health, and a lot of them eventually did not receive treatment. On top of that, more complicated illnesses have been discovered. Some of them we had to send home because we didn't have the right treatment facilities. That destabilized our finances. Firstly, in late April, I lowered the diagnosis certainty to 50%, and when that was not enough, in the middle of May, we had to seek financial assistance of 50k in order to fund our expenses, and then by early June, the 2 Point Hospital had to grant us 250k worth of loan so that we could add some more facilities, in order to get some more of our medical staff working and treating patients. Clinics added during this period of time included the head office, shock clinic, surgery room, and an additional general diagnosis room. Even with all that, it took us another 3 years for our financial situation to begin to stabilize. In the meantime, we had to be consistent with researching $20,000 in the research lab, as well as sending patients home before our system gets overwhelmed. All the while, not neglecting training, promotions, and matching the staff's requested salary. Repeating everything: hiring, building, promoting, matching salary, sending patients home to not overwhelm, upgrading, etc. It took a total of 9 years before we reached 2 stars. Yeah, there, finally. After suffering through don't know how many in-game years it's done, congratulations, your hospital has been awarded a 2-star rating by 2 Point Health Ministry. You continue to successfully monitor the portal through which most illnesses enter the county. The people they reside within are people of leisure and do like a spectacle, so remember to put on a show. Continue working in hospitality for more rewards or go elsewhere and expand your organization. Kudos, yeah, okay. For the requirements to reach 3-star hospital, the hospital value must be 4 million. Hospital attractiveness, 80%. Hospital reputation, 90%. Cure rate, 90%. With most of the bases set up, in order to get to 2 stars, we should still have good hospital value, good hospital reputation, and a decent hospital attractiveness. The only problem would be to continue growing the hospital value, defeat RNG to get the cure rate of 90%. However, we can do something about the cure rate. That is, we can change diagnosis certainty to a higher level. 80%, 85%, 90%. Note that this will directly impact the hospital income and therefore the hospital value in the long run. So, we need to accumulate very good hospital value before adjusting the diagnosis certainty so as to complete the cure rate requirements. It took us approximately 3 more years to reach 3 stars. Congratulations, your hospital has been awarded a 3-star rating by 2 Point Health Ministry. Never has our county's premier tourist destination been so fittingly medically supported. Our visitors are, by and large, healthy, happy, and spending lots of money. Your hospital has even become quite the hotspot itself. Bravo. Cubism anatomy poster. That's it. So this hospital introduced a new technology, a new visitor, changing cold to hot. That's about it, right? Not to forget the joggers ripple epidemic. The star level requirements for this hospital was considered somewhat forgiving already. Reputation shouldn't be a problem, attractiveness obtained easily, hospital value of 4 million should not be that difficult but requires some grind. The main challenge, cure rate. And as mentioned, we can help ourselves with cure rate by increasing the diagnosis certainty percentage. Alright, Grockle Bay, 3 stars. 15 years and 2 months, hospital level 20, balance 700,000, value 4.7 million. Thank you so much for watching. That's all I have for now. Have a nice day.